to the Bloom with Becca podcast. I'm your host, Becca. How are we doing? I missed you guys. I mean, it's only been a week, but I don't know why. It feels like it's been a little while. So welcome back to the pod. I'm so glad to have you here. This episode, we're going to be talking all about how I went on this little digital detox retreat, an unplugged trip last week. What I learned from being off my phone for 2 full days, literally being locked away so I could not use it. How I don't know how to read a map, so Will and I got completely lost in the middle of this field. I'm going to talk about how I'm now really randomly suffering from adult acne for the first time ever. And also the ins and outs about being self-employed. I asked you guys on Instagram to send in your questions, how I stay organized with work, my tips, all that juicy stuff, and I really hope you guys enjoy. Hello, it's just me and you again. I feel like last week, it was a different vibe. Will was here. Welcome back, my loves. How are we? Did we enjoy the pod with Will? You know what? As soon as I do anything with Will, whether he's featured in a video on YouTube or a full-blown podcast episode, he's all about the analytics. I feel like I was a lot more analytical in the early days of my YouTube channel, but I think I've kind of learned the hard way actually that you shouldn't be too focused on the numbers because it can kind of drive you crazy. But yeah, we had our first guest last week, which was really fun. Will did really enjoy it. However, we both were absolutely knackered afterwards. I feel like there were some kind of heavy themes. If you haven't listened to that episode, go listen. It is a really long one. We were talking for almost 2 hours. And then I was thinking about cutting it down quite a lot. But then Will was like, no, just leave it as a candid conversation. So that's what we did. And I think it's probably an hour, 20 minutes. So long. This week's episode will not be that long. I don't think I could just sit here and talk to myself for 2 hours. I don't know. That would be really hard. It's episode 5. Time flies. It's been a good time. I'm actually, maybe I shouldn't mention it yet, but I am in the middle of planning a little giveaway, tied with my main account, Becca Watson and Bloom with Becca. So definitely keep a little eye out for that. It'll be coming very soon. Yeah, if you guys want to help support this podcast even more, then I ask you, if you don't mind, it would mean the world to me if you could follow this on whatever platform you're on, whether it's YouTube, Spotify, Amazon Music, Apple Podcasts, and to be greedy, because this helps the pod out more than you even realize. So if you could rate it on Spotify, that would be amazing. Okay, what have I been up to? Like I said, it feels like it's been a while, but it hasn't been. I think just because last week we went away on this unplugged trip. So there's this company in the UK called Unplugged, where it's basically these little cabins in the middle of nowhere. I mean, they're not miles away from civilization where, kind of to the point where you don't feel safe. Our one, for example, was basically part of this farm. It's on private land. So you're not going to get random, I don't know, walkers or whatever. You do feel kind of safe. And then our one was really close to Hemel Hempstead, so a town. But yeah, really cool. It's basically this digital detox retreat where you lock your phone away for 3 days. So while we were there for 3 nights, and I'm gonna talk about all of that in a sec. I think it's really interesting to kind of go through my thoughts on what I learned with you guys. I also vlogged it. Not that vlog is out yet. Depends when you're listening to this. But I'm really, really excited to put that together. Honestly, sparked inspiration with me. Filming a video without having access to my phone. So just feeling creative in the moment, if that makes sense. It was very fun, very refreshing. But yeah, an incredible trip. The takeaway both Will and I got from that trip is kind of crazy. And yeah, I'm going to go into that. But that's what I did last week. And now this week, I am actually going away to Turkey on Thursday with a brand. I can't believe it. That's my first time. I've done a brand trip before. Unplugged is technically a brand trip that was very kindly gifted. However, I've never been flown out with other influencers and then have an itinerary at this hotel once we're there, a brand trip. It's an actual pinch me moment. So excited. I'm also scared. I'm nervous because I don't have a +1, so no one I know is going with me. I'm going to be meeting all these new faces, but how can you say no to an opportunity like that? I'm so excited, and it is a bucket list kind of thing that I'm so fortunate to be able to tick off. I will tell you guys, update you all about it next week. But yeah, it is such a weird perk of doing what I do. Like anytime stuff like that comes through, I feel so guilty that I get to do that. And I only have you guys to thank who watch me and support me every single week. It's because of you that brands reach out and offer really cool opportunities like that. So yeah, I'm pretty sure I'm vlogging it as well, so you'll be able to see. I don't really know what to expect, so still very exciting, still very new. What else have I been up to? On Saturday, it was one of Will's friends' 30th birthdays, which was really exciting. And I wanted to talk about this quickly because I thought it was such a cute idea. We basically went to a park, so also like a really budget-friendly activity. And we basically all were given a canvas and shared a bunch of different like acrylic paint and painted. It was the most wholesome Saturday. I put it on my story. I was wearing all white and people were like, you are brave, girl. I feel like something I've always wanted to do as like a little girly date or something with a friend would be, you know how you can go to like pottery classes or just, I don't know, like painting classes, or what's it called when you're like a real human? Most of the time they're naked, right? Like in the middle. What's that called? My sister's done it and I know she loved it. Life drawing classes. That's it. Just life drawing. That would be really fun. That'd be really cool. I don't know, creative little ideas like that. I think it's important to like still date your friends when you get older. So much of the time, like we just resort to like, oh, dinner and drinks or like come over. That seems to always be the way. And as nice as that is, there you go. That's some inspo for like a cute little activity, maybe on the weekend. What else is a cute activity? I mean, like I love going to a workout class with a friend and then like maybe getting brunch after that. It just really feels like self-care. Feels a little bougie if you go to a nice workout class, like a really nice studio, or just like bakery, coffee shop hopping is also a very cute one. And since it's the season, we're in October now, so you all can't make fun of me anymore for, you know, fully embracing being a basic bitch when it comes to autumn, because this is our month to drink all the pumpkin spice lattes you can, wear those Uggs, get out your jumpers, even though it's kind of hot in London, but you know. And something I really want to do is, I've spoken about it before, like a pumpkin patch trip, but then also like coming home and decorating pumpkins, or you could do candles. I saw someone on TikTok doing that. They were like just getting plain like white candles and then drawing painting little pumpkins on them. I'm pretty sure you can like melt wax and then that creates it so it's like more 3D and it looks really cute. Another update with me, I feel like I've definitely already mentioned it within a pod or YouTube video. My skin, you guys, my skin has never been this bad in my life. Yeah, I've definitely spoken about this because these words feel familiar, but I've actually complained about my skin like every day for the past month, maybe. My skin started playing up in August. And you know what? When I think about it, it was when I dyed my hair and did extensions. Extensions don't give you acne. That's not a thing. Hair dye, fair enough. I could have reacted to it, even though I had a patch test. But anyway, my point is, I have like serious spots going on right now on my cheeks. And I feel like it's hormonal. It's so random that it's popped up and it's aggressive. It's so bad. I feel like nothing I'm doing is helping. It is just continuously getting worse. And I have never dealt with spots like that before. So I'm sad about it. That might sound pathetic, but like now I really get it. Like your skin is such a big part of you and your, you know, kind of plays into your confidence, and it's making me feel quite bad about myself. And the thing with skin is obviously like I've asked people for tips, people give me tips, and it's like it could literally be anything. It could be my diet, it could be my pillowcase, it could be like a particular product. I cannot for the life of me like get to the bottom of what it is. Anyway, let's talk about something happy. Let's talk about I don't know, like things I recommend. I don't have any like media recommendations. I made corn chowder soup this weekend and it was incredible. Really easy recipe. Sounds dumb. Never made it before, but also like this is soup season for sure. Like as we're heading more into cozy season, it just felt like I don't know why. Prepping soup, like cutting up all the veggies and then cooking it all is such a ritual. that I love. It puts me in a good mood. You also you can add so many veggies to soup. So many soups are obviously really good for you. Yeah, just something nice to do for yourself. And I have been reading since I was away on the unplugged trip. Obviously, it's like the perfect time to read. And I didn't actually finish a book. I brought like 3 books. I was so sure I would finish a book and then like need another one or whatever. I was reading Carrie Soto is Back by Taylor Jenkins Reid. I believe that's her name. I've read Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo. I've read Daisy Jones and the Six. Also seen the show. My God, that's one of my favorite shows ever. Like I literally might be Daisy Jones for Halloween. I'm obsessed. Like I still listen to the music. I blast the music when I'm in the car driving. Oh my God, if you haven't seen that TV show. Okay, I said I wasn't going to recommend TV show because I watched that months ago, but that's an amazing show. And also an amazing book, obviously, because the book came first. But yeah, I was reading Carrie Soto is Back and I'm 2/3 of the way through. So I have like given it a really good go. I'd say a fair go. And unless something is gonna change, I don't know. It's not my favorite book, but I am determined to finish it. So I can't say my final opinion yet. I feel like that might be a bit of an unpopular opinion because so many people recommended that book to me. It's like all over Book Talk. Is that what's even called, the book side of TikTok? Okay, let me tell you guys all about Unplugged. So I already spoke about kind of what Unplugged do, what they are as a company. But yeah, essentially with these cabins is they don't even have Wi-Fi. There isn't even like a main plug. So forget about like charging your laptop. What else? I'm pretty sure all runs on like solar panels. So there's no like oven, for example. Insanely impressive how they've built those cabins. I was blown away. Even though full disclosure, the trip was gifted. It's not sponsored. I'm not paid to like talk about it. I just had the best time and I want to talk about it because I think it is so important and it was such a big lesson for me. Something we should all be doing is a digital detox, like a digital reset, because I was saying this to Will, like the same way you might do a Sunday reset or a monthly reset and you'll look at, I don't know, like your finances and you might do an audit of your life. We try regulate what we eat and eat healthier, or you'll give your home a reset. You'll clean your home. We do not do that when it comes to our digital lives and screens. That's not part of our routine. I mean, it might be for you. And if it is, like, seriously, I respect you because I've come away from that trip and just instantly was like, oh my God, I want to do that every year, if not more. I think it is so important to give our brains a break from digital stimulation. So yeah, with these cabins, the idea is it's like a 3-night stay and you arrive and there's a box and you pop your phones in this box and literally lock it away. I mean, you have access to the key. You can get it, for emergencies, but honestly, you might find that you don't even miss your phone, and that's what our experience was. But yeah, you open this box and it's actually so cute. Like the touches that they include in this cabin are really adorable. So you basically replace your phone with a Nokia. They give you, a little brick phone because, for safety, you still want to have access to a phone. So you can call 999. They give you a map, a physical map, a compass. I feel like I would say that word weirdly. Compass explains also why we got lost on day one. What else? There was a Polaroid camera, which was so cute. So you could like still snap little shots. The cabins are so beautiful because our one at least was like surrounded by a woodland. So, and it has a massive window. I posted a little photo on Instagram. So if you haven't seen that, then, and you want to kind of picture it, I mean, you can just look up Unplugged. Their cabins are stunning. Like the interiors are just beautiful with the wood and they have like linen bedding. You're just in such a nice environment. And then when you're sitting on the bed, for us, it was like looking out onto this woodland and it was just the most beautiful, peaceful thing. Like could have sat there for hours. And we did, to be fair. And also in this cabin, there's like a load of board games. There's a really cute little radio, so you can still like listen to the radio. Will and I were literally talking about like, what if the world's ending and we're in this little cabin in the woods and we don't know? So you have the radio, like you would know. They also have books, just, like all the things you need. Because the thing is, like, us as humans, we still need stimulation. We still need to be entertained. You can't just cut yourself off and not do anything for 2-3 days. Like, you have to keep your mind entertained. And it's just about replacing that kind of fake dopamine we get from our phones and from scrolling and all of that, instead of replacing it with, real dopamine. So human interaction, games, laughing, like cooking brings you a sense of real happiness. And we both really found that. Funny story though. So on the first day, we wanted to be a bit more adventurous and we kind of went exploring. So we went out for like a long walk. We ended up at a pub, which like on this map, it said this pub was only like a 30-minute walk away. We definitely went a long way. It took us like an hour. And then we attempted to walk home back to the cabin. Because we were looking at this map and we were like, oh, okay, surely if you go that way, that's like the quick way. That what they're referring to is like it just being a half-hour walk through these fields, right? And you're away from the road. No, we obviously made a wrong turn. We started off real strong, okay? And we were like probably a bit overly confident that we thought we could do this. But at the same time, it doesn't sound that hard. I'm so disappointed in us. But yeah, we start this walk and then we kind of get to this woodland and we're like, do we walk through it? And that's when it became obvious that we didn't actually know where the fuck we were. Like on this map, we did not know. And then the whole thing just started escalating. Things started getting more stressful. We were thinking about how, it's getting darker now earlier. And also, this is very weird, but Mochi, it was one of the learnings from this trip. Mochi is such a liability. I love him. He's my son. He brings us so much joy. There's no question about it. But he is also a liability. He's like such a domesticated pet. He is. He would not survive one day in the wild. And, bless him. I'm being really harsh. He's a sausage dog. Like, he's not even bred for that. I don't know. What is he bred for? I don't know. Hunting badgers and rats. Not, running through fields and woodlands. But something we were told to be cautious of when he was a puppy was big birds flying overhead and thinking that he is dinner. Thinking that he's like a mouse or a rat. So we were in this field and overhead there were these massive eagles. You don't see these kind of birds in the city. And I swear, okay, I think we were just paranoid, but it felt like they were coming for Mochi. I don't know. It was just a really stressful situation, but long story short, or I've not made that short at all, actually. I've told you the whole story, but we went back on ourselves. We kept walking and we were like, wow, this is stupid, actually, if we keep going, because we're just going to get even more lost. And we were like, we should probably turn back whilst we still can and remember the way. So we got back to the pub. It was honestly like 2 hours had gone since we had set off, which is really annoying. And I heard a lot of people say, like, when you go do those experiences, the unplugged cabins, like the days feel so long, because you're not on your phone and you're being really present. But that day flew by because we were out exploring, I guess, and then got really stupidly lost. But thankfully this phone had like a saved number for a taxi. So we, got a taxi back to the cabin, which is a little bit embarrassing, but just here to be honest. Our second full day was, honestly, that was just stressful. So we spent the day doing nothing and it was beautiful. In the evenings, there was a little fire pit outside as well. So we lit a fire. It was so cozy. Like I mentioned, I was vlogging this trip. So I was like slightly cheating. I wasn't like fully digital free. I did have a camera and I also brought a drone, but this was actually really exciting for us because I've never used a drone before. So it was like a new challenge, and also just being surrounded by such a beautiful place. I felt so inspired and so excited to make new content. But yeah, I was so sure that I was going to miss my phone at least a little bit. Like maybe we would get a bit bored, maybe in the evenings. I'm not lying. I did not miss my phone at all. In fact, when it came to Friday morning, we were going home, checking out, had to unlock the box. It was actually kind of an anxious feeling to like, what am I plugging myself back into? The Matrix, making yourself available again. Yeah, on the second day, we were all just sitting on the bed, like me, Will, and Mochi, sitting on this bed, looking out this woodland. in silence as both like Will and I read. And Will's not like a huge reader. He's actually not read a nonfiction book like as an adult. I hope he doesn't mind me saying that. That was his first time reading a nonfiction book in years, and he finished it. Like, he loved it. Like, he's definitely been on his phone less since we've came home, and just been really aware of how much social media and all these apps kind of suck him in, especially in the evening. I don't know, it's scary, like what our phones do to our attention span nowadays. I'm not saying anything revolutionary, and that's why I didn't want to come on this podcast and talk about it from a scientific analysis of anything, because I don't have a leg to stand on with that, but like just my learnings from this trip. For me at least, like when I'm in the shower, when I'm cleaning, when I'm doing my makeup, like we can't just sit in silence anymore, because you could have a podcast on, you could have a YouTube video like on in the background. And that's not a healthy habit at all to like fall into, but I suffer from it so badly. And it made me realize when I was in this cabin, especially when like prepping dinner, I was like, oh yeah, like normally I would have a video on. Like I never do these sort of mundane daily tasks without stimulation. And it's like, no wonder we're so anxious. We're just fed so much information every day, like not a normal amount of information. We've never had it to this level before. And also, like I said, that's why our attention spans are so short. It's like harder than ever to sit down and watch a movie, because your brain might wander, and then, oh, you can go Google something, you can go check something. I'm going to check Instagram. Will's really good at like being present when we're watching a film. I know as well, like a film that involves a screen, right? Yeah, this trip to be like fully present, it felt really nice to let yourself detach, unplug. There you go. There's the word. For a couple of days. There was a bit of anxiety with like, what if someone's trying to reach me and they can't? But in the end, it was okay. We opened up our phones on Friday, and realistically, we didn't miss anything. And I felt it on Friday. I was like, oh my God, my mind is so cloudy. Now I'm like back on my phone and just juggling a bunch of things, and my mind felt so clear when I was on this trip. Will's come home and literally deleted Instagram because he's like, that was life-changing. Okay, so a couple of days ago, I was on Instagram, and I realized that it has been a year since I announced like on stories that I had handed in my notice to my full-time job to pursue YouTube full-time. I mean, let's not talk about how fast this year has gone by, because it freaks me out. But it's been a year of being self-employed. And who was it? I was listening to a podcast by Emma Neal, I believe. I think she just did an episode on being self-employed. I was listening to her episode, and it inspired me to ask you guys, like, what is it you want to know about being self-employed? Because I feel like I do get a lot of questions about the ins and outs of what I do and how I manage to do what I do. And I hope this is helpful to any of you who might be considering going self-employed, are self-employed, or, you know, you're just curious. And that's fair enough. I asked the question over on Instagram, and I feel like some of you have also just asked kind of generic questions about being like a YouTuber. So I don't know, maybe I'll answer some of them, because some of them are quite good. But maybe I'll also do an episode in the future all about like the reality of being a YouTuber, like the answers you want to know. Anyway, I feel like, the main question I got for sure was just tips on staying disciplined, working from home, like tips on staying disciplined, being self-employed. How do you motivate yourself? All of that. This for sure is hard. And I think it goes without saying that this, you know, is why not everyone can be self-employed, and it's so fair enough. It's not, honestly, one of the biggest things I've learned is it's not a case of who's more hardworking and who's not. It's so to do with like your style of work. And Will is a good example of like someone who's always worked for a company, and he knows he couldn't, you know, build his own company, be self-employed per se. He likes having that structure and like being part of something. Whereas, being self-employed, I'm going to be really honest, and it kind of ties to my episode where I talked about failure, quitting, the fear of failure. And for me, a huge driver since day one of doing what I do and doing what I do so publicly, obviously it's social media. I really document the highs and the lows, and you guys see the numbers. Like, you have access to see how well I'm doing. It's the fear of failure that like drives me every day. Like, you have to get this video out. Otherwise, how is this your job? You know, that's like your bare minimum. This podcast as well kind of falls under that. Like, I have started this podcast. How would it look if I just suddenly take weeks off? Like, I don't know. It's that fear of looking bad. And I'm not saying that necessarily is like a good motivator or driver. I'm being very transparent. That is how it is, how my brain works. There is also such a pressure that might keep you up at night a little bit, that it's like you get out as much as you put in. There's something nice about that, but it is also like, I need to pay my bills and it all comes from me. Because I can wake up tomorrow morning, right? And for example, tomorrow's a Tuesday. So your typical day within the work week. I can wake up tomorrow and decide that I don't want to work. But what does that do? It puts me behind. If I don't work, I don't make money. There's like that very direct correlation that honestly does make it easier to stay on track. Don't get me wrong, there are days where it's like that also works against me, that it's like, well, I don't have to work. Or if I'm having like a really off morning, you know, I need to find discipline from somewhere. But I think when you're self-employed, like your work is your baby, right? Like you've probably built something, your freelance career, and most of the time you want to see it grow, you want to see it succeed. My tips for sure are, you know, don't run yourself to the ground. Burnout is very common, especially with business owners and people who are self-employed, because the boundaries of work are a little blurry. And so you might work into the evenings, you might work at the weekends. Before you know it, you're kind of working all the time. Building some sort of a routine is really important. Setting those boundaries, especially when working from home. Like, I never work in my bed. I never ever will bring my laptop to my bed. I have a desk and I have that part of my home that is meant for work. And when I'm sitting there, I know it helps with productivity. Like, my mind is like, yep, girl, it is time to work. And also understanding a routine, like maybe being kind of strict with yourself, that you can be like, even though I'm self-employed, like I can work at 10 p.m. if I want, but is that good for me? So maybe it's a good idea to be like, oh, I'm going to actually finish all my work by 5 p.m. Like, build that routine, make it work for you. The past few months, I've found that I can usually take Saturday completely off, which is really nice. And then Sunday I do, because I upload on Sunday, so work kind of always spills over onto that day. You know, maybe if I was better with my time, I could kind of combine it all. But realistically, I'm a bit of a last minute. And you yourself can set deadlines. You know, you just got to find a way where you stick to them, even though like you set them. That's why like time blocking really helps. If say, for example, like I know I need to edit, but I have 2 days to edit, but really it's only going to take me 1 day. If I'm not careful, then I will take up 2 whole days. So be realistic about like how long tasks actually take you. People ask like, do you easily get distracted while working from home? For sure. I'm not working with anyone. I have my phone. That's why little tips like literally put my phone on do not disturb, and I will forget about it. And you know, it's not like buzzing or notifications aren't popping up on my phone. And that's definitely, I've found, what distracts me. So I think if you kind of audit yourself, think about what distracts you, and then there's always going to be a way to take action, even if it is as extreme as like go put your phone in a different room. Do you get lonely? I do. I definitely do, but I'm getting a lot better at managing that. And it is a case of like, if I'm starting to feel that way, it's simple. I need to go out and work in a cafe, or like a co-working space, or, you know, I've been in London for 2 years now, so I'm meeting people slowly but surely. I'll try my best to meet like another self-employed friend and we can go work in a coffee shop together. How much of your time needs to go to accounts / businessy stuff? More than you would think. So people look at me as a YouTuber and think, yeah, I don't know. It's up to you whether you think I own a business or not. I run a business, but I technically do. I do own a limited company. I'm not like, I don't operate as a sole trader. This is all very boring and technical, but for, I don't know, maybe one of you is interested. I literally own a limited company called Becca Watson. So it is a business. And with that comes a lot more paperwork and payroll. Yes, I have to pay myself. Maybe really boring chat, maybe a little bit juicy. I feel like, I don't know if people are interested in the sort of financial back end of what I do. I'm a director of my company, so I pay myself a salary and dividends. The stuff I've had to learn this year, and I don't know what I'm talking about at all. And so that was another question I got is, how do you manage your accounts? Do you have an accountant? How did you find your accountant? So for me, I have zero knowledge or experience in finance. This is one of the things where you have to outsource that. Like, I don't know, some people are great at managing it all and they can do it. I don't know how, huge respect to them. For me, it's a case of I would rather pass this on to someone who is way more knowledgeable than me in this respect. I don't want to do my tax return. I mean, like I have to sign it off and everything, but I don't want to be spending days trying to work out what I'm doing, and all of that's so stressful. Also, another tip is find yourself a really good accountant who understands the nature of what you do. So the first accountant I went for, I had to let go because I just felt like every time I was on the phone to him, he was asking me like, how do you make money again? I was like, I don't feel like you are interested or like, I don't know, understand what I do. And then I found these new guys. Actually, I might as well shout them out. They're called StriveX. If you are a content creator, they're really great at managing content creators and just understanding how we manage business, and they just hold your hand a bit more. That's been my experience. Like, a really lovely team. Again, every case, it's a case by case thing. I can only talk for myself, but I wouldn't go for just like a high street accountant or whatever. I would go for someone more specialized. Have you found it harder to buy a house with being self-employed? I remember when I mentioned I was planning to buy in London last year. I think I mentioned it just candidly in a video. And then it also was around the time of me being like, oh, I'm going self-employed. And someone messaged me on Instagram being like, girl, don't go self-employed. You're not going to be able to buy a house. Like, it makes it so much more complicated. I was like, girl, I know. Don't worry. Like, thanks for looking out for me. But like, yeah, that obviously is something Will and I have had to be okay with, because it does get a lot more complicated if you're self-employed. You have to have like I think maybe 2 or 3 years worth of returns. And I know some banks are a bit weird about if you're in social media, because is that even a real job to some banks? I mean, I haven't tried, so I don't really know. We're thankfully in a position where the original idea was to use Will's salary. However, if you listen to the last pod episode, then you know Will has quit his job, and that's the whole thing. His happiness comes first, obviously, and we'll work it out. It's okay. It might be a case of, actually, since this whole house buying process has taken way longer than we thought, I might have more records, if that makes sense, to show that I know it is a lot more complicated if you're self-employed, but not impossible. So please don't be like disheartened. A few people ask like, what is the best part of it? What do you love about it? What is the best part of it? What do you love about it? The obvious answer obviously is you manage your own schedule, you manage your own hours, and going from a job that was like 9-6, Monday to Friday in the office, that's your time chunk, majority of your week signed away to this job. And yes, being able to make my own hours is a life-changing thing. It's an incredible, incredible privilege. I'm not going to pretend it's not. I don't think it's as glamorous as it sounds because of, mental health and setting boundaries. And yeah, if you wake up one morning and you're not in the mood, but you still have to get that work done, like you might then just be working in the evening, and it might sacrifice you, like, that time you could be spending socializing, meeting friends. But for sure, I'm still going to put that definitely as a pro. Obviously, you manage your own hours. I do like how it is rewarding in the sense of like you do get out what you put in. And so obviously when you work for a company, like you have your salary, maybe you have bonuses, but it's nice that I can put in more work one month and make more. And also, yeah, as my business grows, like more money comes in. So that is a nice side of it. There's kind of no cap with earnings. I love the sort of personal skills it's given me. I feel like I have had to grow as a person, and I'm so lucky to, have a job that I love. Not everyone has that. Of course, not everyone has that. That is such a blessing, and I do not forget that. I cannot take that for granted because, yeah, I'm very lucky in that sense. how long did it take you to make YouTube profitable enough to drop your day job? So, and there's a few other questions about like how long did it take you to get monetized? How long did it take you to start earning money? I started YouTube in 2020 and I got monetized that summer. So like 6 months, whatever. I think it was the June of that year that I got monetized. And just slowly over time, the amount of money coming in went up and up. And I obviously got to a place where I could leave my full-time job. However, I feel like we see it sometimes. There's influencers who have to go back to work. And that is not a simple situation because, anything can happen. This career is ridiculously not stable. It is not. People could start watching me tomorrow. I really hope you don't. Please stick around. But yeah, you see people who quit their jobs and maybe they're not necessarily ready. So what I would say is you don't want it to be like just started making as much as your full-time job. And that means, okay, it's time to quit the full-time job and I can pursue this, because every month varies so much. So for me, I think it was like, I'm going to say about 9 months before I left, where I started making as much as I made at my full-time job. And then it was over the 9 months, YouTube was bringing in like multiples of what I was making monthly from my full-time job. So since it had been like that for so many months, by the time I handed in my notice, it was like about 4 times more than what I was bringing in with the full-time job, that it was like, okay, it no longer makes sense for me to be dedicating this much time to my full-time job. And I felt comfortable leaving. But yeah, every situation's different. I did get quite a lot of questions on finances, like how do I manage finances, recommendations for financial literacy. And honestly, this is something I cannot advise on. It is another world, it's another language. I don't think we get taught nearly enough about it in school. There are a lot of resources out there, and I have started consuming that content a bit more, learning more about like the importance of pensions and just like how to tax efficiently manage your money as a business owner, all of this fun stuff. I will say, for someone who is financially illiterate, like myself, clueless with finances and like managing finance from a business, just recently got in touch with a financial advisor. She was actually so sweet. She said she was going to listen to my pod. So Sophia, if you're here, hi girl, how you doing? She was really lovely. So I kind of recommend that, going to a financial advisor about your situation. A lot of questions about like how to deal with stress, being hard on yourself, ways to relax, like unwind. I am working on this as well. It's a big one. I think you have to really be easy on yourself, because like with being self-employed, it always feels like there's always more you can be doing. I know for me, I constantly feel behind every single week. I've not done enough. I never ever finish my to-do lists, and that's like such a dissatisfying feeling. It's not nice, and that's when we get really hard on ourselves. And sometimes, it's hard to find a way around that. And so a lot of people say like you should reward yourself. I was actually talking to someone else, a friend in London who's also self-employed, and she was like, what do you do when you hit a milestone or something? Like, what ways do you reward yourself? Like she said, one day when she got a really big brand deal, she was like, I'm going to treat myself to this bag I've always wanted. And I was like, that's so nice. I never think about like directly rewarding myself. Really simple actually that you could be doing. Almost feels more like I'm punishing myself if I don't get enough done. Well, now you have to work in the evening. Well, now you have to work the weekend. But yeah, that's the reality of it. And hopefully like you love it. That's what keeps you going. Because if you don't, like, I don't know how you're managing if it's stressing you out, But definitely the biggest one I've learned is you have to, be really realistic about your goals. Be really realistic about that to-do list. I will jot down so much and be like, yep, you're doing that today. And I'm not gonna. Like, I know I'm not going to. So what happens, I guess, at the end of the day, and I just feel bad. I feel like a failure every single day. You did not complete your to-do list. And that was a really unhealthy relationship I developed with my productivity, I guess. So that's something I had to change. My friend Jenna asked a question that's kind of related to what I just said, something you've learned about your own productivity since being self-employed. Biggest tip is understand your energy levels across the day. So for example, this podcast, I'm filming it in the evening, and that's probably not the best idea because I'm starting to feel a little sleepy. Whereas if I wanted to make this the best I could, then I would film it like first thing in the morning when I'm feeling all perky. So yeah, manage your tasks alongside like, your energy level. When you tackle those big daunting tasks when you know you have the most energy, because that is a perk of being self-employed, right? We spoke about it, like you can manage your own schedule. So for me, it's been a huge lesson, like be smart about how you manage your schedule. You can make things easier for yourself. So why don't you? And then that just benefits everything, your well-being, productivity, the output of your work, all of it. I got asked quite a few questions about like savings, putting money away for taxes. How do you manage all that? I think the thing I've learned is when money's coming in and you have money, like put away as much as you can, whatever percentage that is. Like, I don't know whether you feel like, oh, putting away 20% is enough for tax. But if you can put away 50%, if you can realistically actually put away half of what you make, do it like whilst you still can. Because especially in the industry that I'm in, and this is also relevant to self-employed people, to freelancers, like this is the nature of it. Money is going to be different each and every month. When money's good, be smart about it. I don't want to give any financial advice. I don't know what the hell I'm talking about, but this is from an amateur who has recently gone self-employed. What I've learned, that is a huge one. When money is there and you have that privilege to put it away, because don't get me wrong, a couple of years ago, I was paycheck to paycheck. And that's how it is for so many of us, and especially in this economy. Okay, I am going to end this episode here because we are now into the evening. Will's at the gym. I'm not gonna lie, I'm so hungry. I'm going to start making dinner. But I really hope you guys enjoyed this episode. I didn't script this one that much, so sorry if it was a bit here, there, and everywhere. I literally just wanted to answer your questions and ramble about my experience with Unplugged. That sounds up your street. I could not recommend enough. Thank you guys so much for tuning in to another episode of Bloom with Becca. I will see you guys next Wednesday. Sending all my love. Have a fabulous week. Thank you, my loves, for listening to this week's episode of Bloom with Becca. Be sure to follow the Bloom with Becca Instagram page to get involved each week with your questions, your stories, your thoughts on different topics, all that good stuff. I'll see you guys next week for a new episode. Love you. Bye.